States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take comments from the assembly. If you have specific comments to Berks Home or some other items on the agenda, we can discuss it at that time, or feel free to go now.
Just a general comment. We are doing the comments for the different agenda items. Can you please do priority for people that are residents of the township, and please make sure that the rest of us know who are residents of the township. And also, I know last time I had an issue with an item on the agenda because I needed clarification. I think none of us go to all the meetings, and just let us know what we're talking about certain objects, like the commercial. We're done commercial. Make sure we know what they're talking about, because I didn't know and I got yelled at because I had to stop him to ask. So if you do that, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I oppose the zoning change for the Burn Violet property. We took a petition together, coming out, we got a bunch of signatures from the community. It was amazing how many people didn't know about it, and people that, once they knew about it a little bit, were not in favor of it. It was like over 300 and some signatures we got here. I just don't think it's good for the community. My name's Gary Razor. I graduated from Twin Valley High School, lived in the school district my whole life. I actually right now live in Robinson Township, just a little bit over here. I would hope that you guys don't change the zoning just for the developer. I think doesn't seem logical to me. But what I hope you could do is take that IOP and make a quick change to that and get rid of the 75-foot high building. I think everybody would be happier, much more. Thank you.
Do you have any sense of the people that signed the petition, whether they were residents or not?
Whether they were what? The petition states whether they worked in Caernarvon Township, whether they lived in Caernarvon Township, whether they lived in Twin Valley School District or worked in Twin Valley School District, or whether they were just other people that are concerned that come into town or downtown.
Not having seen it.
May I ask Mr. Razor a question?
Sure.
Do you maintain a plane at Mr. Byler's airport?
I do own a plane, and right now I do have it at Morgan's Airport.
So there is some self-interest in the statement you're making tonight.
I actually have another place for the plane, so it's not really that big a deal. But it is a very nice airport.
Okay. I just wanted to make it clear that you store a plane or keep a plane here.
And I know Brennan. I've worked with Brennan for years, so I don't know.
Yeah, I am Vernon Byler and my wife Betty. We owned the property for 54 years, and we decided to sell. And like everybody has to sometime. And so we notified all the tenants right after we made plans to sell. We had a meeting, got everyone together, and we told them our plans, what we were going to do. And then as time went on, after we met with Berks Homes, we liked their plans, and we felt like they would develop and make the land into the best use land for the area. And so we liked what they were doing. And also, any statements made by the tenants are not for their own. No, I'm sorry. The current tenants do not have the authorization to speak for me with respect to the airport property. Any statements made by the tenants are for their own self-interest. Additionally, many of the tenants are not residents of Caernarvon Township.
on the subject, I'm a resident. I live at 800 Sill Way, or 800 Sill Drive. I moved in there about 13 months ago. So this was a recent item that came around to the neighborhood, and I actually wanted to come to get an idea from the planning committee whether or not the planning committee had ever outlined any kind of proposal for future development of that main line that could be used for commercial at some point, or if it's just open to proposals as they come, because it's a great opportunity. We know things will continue to be developed over time, but I'm wondering if this is, in your opinion, the best use for that land, whether or not we want to build homes there or save that for some kind of commercial opportunity down the road.
Can I respond?
Sure.
Okay. Part of the Berks Homes plan includes approximately 8 to 10 acres of commercial use.
So I'm a resident of Terry Hill. My father bought land here in Caernarvon Township when I was 12. So I lived and grew up in my teenage years in Caernarvon Township. I dreamt of flying. I ran out to the airport many times. I currently have invested the last 20 years in restoring airplanes and building my own airplanes. I just came back from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, that held a one-week event that brought in 608,000 people. Aviation is growing, it's very active. In the future, every town, every township, every county will wish they had a place to land airplanes, or what they call a personal short takeoff and landing vehicles. The future is alive, it's active, and I know Vernon has an interest in doing the best thing for this property. I do believe that the outcome could be a compromise between homes and an airport. There's many residential air parks. You could line several small commercial properties on the south side. You could line several residential hangar type homes on the north side. You could add a few more homes, quite a few more homes on the other side. If you raise, I'm calling you all to a higher level, to raise your vision, to look to the future, to save open space, and also keep the aviation community alive. Thank you.
I live at 14 Hunters Hill Drive. And I guess my feeling is the Weilers have owned this property, they paid their taxes, it's essentially was an investment for them, and they're ready to sell it. And if someone wants to keep an airport, then they should raise the money and put it in an airport. But no one has done that, and Berks Homes has come along and they're ready to develop the property. Our choice at this point is how that property is going to be developed, and as a community, what do we want there? Do we want residential homes that support a kind of a dying retail area, or do we want light industrial there that doesn't mix well with the homes that are there? I mean, as someone who lives in Highcroft, I mean, Morgan is a terrible neighbor. I don't really want more neighbors like that. I would really like to have someone fix the traffic problem coming out onto 23. We had a school bus get hit there last year. It's a common place for accidents. Eventually it's going to be not a fender bender with a school bus, but it can be something really super serious. So I think it's a really good plan, and we should take advantage of it, and we should work with Berks Homes to make it close to the best that it can be. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck with something, because eventually it's going to be developed. It's their right to sell their property, and it's someone else's right to buy it and then develop it within the zoning. So that's where we are right now. So thanks.
But that's the problem. this proposed project doesn't fit within the.
Absolutely, and I know they're asking for a variance. So, and my feeling is, knowing that other things that I've read with the township, I doubt that zoning's been updated recently in the last 10 years.
This zoning, I believe, has been in place about 30 years.
Yes, 30
and
years.
The vision was that was supposed to be commercial, for commercial use.
So, in the last 30 years, this community, I am actually someone who grew up around here. Gary, you know my dad. And it's, the area has evolved in the last 30 years. So now we're looking at it and what's best for the community right now.
And you mentioned Morgan Trailer. They were there long before.
Absolutely, and I'm just saying, it's fine. They're there. We're there now. That's great. You know, they don't close their dumpsters, and my kids and my husband once a year and walk along the road and clean up trash. Like, you know, they hire, you know, sex offenders. Like, they're not a great neighbor. That's, you know, but that's what we're dealing with. We deal with it. Do we want more of that? And is that what we want in our community? What do we want for our community? They have a right to sell their property, and if people want an airport, then put the money together and build an airport.
I don't know how many employees Morgan has.
This isn't about Morgan. This is about what do we want as a vision for our community.
You're concerned about the people that work there, but you're talking about inviting, I don't know how many hundred new people into our community from who knows where, you know, to live here.
They have to report their sex offender status. They can't just show up in that neighborhood. Morgan hires them for like a cut rate, like a tax break. And we get that, but still having them wandering around on those roads where our kids are walking those roads and moving from community to community. My husband walks from this neighborhood here down to Highcroft. I don't want my daughter doing that. She's 8 now, so in 8 years, not even that, 5 years, she's gonna wanna walk over there by herself. There is no way in the world that's happening with Morgan there. I definitely don't want it happening with a whole nother building in front of that that's gonna, I get that everybody needs a job, and I'm okay with that. But Highcroft is a nice neighborhood. I don't think they deserve another warehouse there with the same mix of employees, and I don't think our community deserves that. Especially if we're putting other housing right along Main Street or whatever. It just doesn't seem.
The difference
doesn't make
is
sense.
when you live somewhere, you're invested in the community. If you're necessarily just coming for 8 hours a day, it's a different. It's, you know, you're not as invested. And I don't want this to descend into a conversation about Morgan. It's really about what do we want? What's the best thing for our community? Right. It's going to get developed. How it's developed is the question.
Exactly, it's going to get developed, but economically, commercial was much better for the township, and for the traffic impact, it would be a lot less impact if it was commercial versus all these additional new residents.
My understanding, how many residents is it?
They know properties. You'd have.
How many like what's the plan? I remember not.
Current plan is 221. 185 single families. 36 or 80.
So it's the size of Penwood.
A little smaller than Penwood, yeah. Penwood's like 250.
So those cars are worse than
Down to 221 now.
What's 220? Our current proposal?
Yeah.
221.
No, apartments. Apartments were removed.
Okay.
It
And
was
the townhomes are how many?
86. That math work? Yeah. 135 to 86.
Yep. So total families would be 221.
Yeah, hi, I'm Laura Velardo. I also live in Highcroft on Hunters Hill Drive. I think I spoke last week as well. I just want to echo the sentiment that, you know, Mr. Beeler has a right to sell his property and develop it. And the question at hand is, do we zone it residential, or do we, I think, leave it zoned as it is unless there's a third zoning option? I think the best use of property adjacent to other homes would be additional housing. I think that fears about the cost are offset by the fact that developers are willing to move the road to where the traffic light is, which is a huge safety issue. I believe that we need more rooftops and more people in the community if you want anybody to build any more commercial. There's there's no desire to build here anything else, light industrial or commercial, if there's no more houses. And I also think it's important that we have mixed housing. I know that people don't like apartments and townhomes, and we speak of it in code because we want a certain level of socioeconomic status, but we should have a broad community of people with lots of opportunities and lots of different levels of housing. And to say, who are we to say that apartments or townhomes are gonna bring a unreliable client, I think is really kind of discriminatory. So overall, I think housing, next to housing makes the most sense. I think we have plenty of land already zoned for light industrial and it's not full. And we don't have a huge demand for retail at this moment because we don't have enough people in the community to support it. So I think the schools are slowly, the kids are aging out. They'll be able to handle the volume. Twin Valley Elementary is not full at this time. I'm not an expert, but I know the numbers are down. And I think it brings value to our community as well. So those are my comments, thank you.
I get two names, I'm missing two names.
Okay, get Grace first.
Yes, so Terry Hill resident. Who's the one from Terry Hill?
Your name and address.
Okay, Tim Weaver, P.O. Box 195, Terry Hill.
14 Hunters Hill.
Meredith Pigeon.
What is your last name?
Pigeon.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Robinson. Property up on Caernarvon Road. I've been a resident for a couple of decades. I don't believe the concentration of housing is in the best interest of this community. I think it's going to burden the schools. I think it's going to burden the infrastructure. I believe that the coexistence with the airport, and I don't own an airplane, okay, coexistence with the airplane, with the airport, with some light industrial, with some retail negotiations with the current airport owner, perhaps there's a deal. What I know about airports is quite often owners will get together to buy a property. I don't know if this has been addressed or not, but the concentration of housing going in here and rezoning for this is not in the best interest. The traffic problem we have, the infrastructure problem we're going to have immediately, it's not good for the community, and I oppose it.
Yeah, the biggest issue, this property is very valuable, beautiful, flat property. The problem with the property is you can't get to the property efficiently on our roadways, the way it's currently designed. And it'll create so much, traffic jams beyond what we're seeing now, so much of traffic jam all through town. It's gonna be a problem.
Mr. Steyer, twice we had our traffic engineer here.
Yeah, they tell us stories.
Who provided a detailed explanation.
Not that detailed, but I can tell you,
Well,
timing those lights will not help.
I think he said more than that, and I think you're just blowing past what he said.
Okay, what did he say?
He said the traffic can be controlled. He also said it.
How are you gonna control it?
He also said that a industrial or commercial use may generate more traffic.
Nay, we have no idea what might propose to go in there.
Well, you don't know if the residential is gonna generate more traffic.
We know it's
You
gonna.
don't, you haven't talked to a traffic engineer, at least we brought one twice when the.
Exactly, pushing the agenda.
Pushing the agenda, we're bringing our expert
I know, you're
to
expert.
you
Mhm.
to provide you with an explanation of the traffic, twice. You had an opportunity to ask questions at that time.
Basically.
And now, and let me
Go
finish.
ahead.
And now, you're just making blanket statements.
Well, that's all you did. You're expert.
Well, I tend to disagree. If he was making blanket statements, you should have asked more questions.
There was no answer. I mean,
I
you
think he
can't
provided
predict
it.
what
I'm not
the
gonna-
future.
I'm not gonna
of-
argue with you about it. We had an expert, a traffic engineer with an engineering degree, come to 2 meetings.
And he said timing the lights would
He
help.
said more than that.
And what did he say?
I don't have it memorized, but he was here twice.
I know he
He
was here.
provided an explanation each time.
And basically, the big key was timing the lights. I actually feel that
We're
would
also
make it much
moving the
worse.
road,
Doing what?
relocating the road.
That's in one area down there, yes, that'll improve it down by.
Well, one area affects all the traffic.
They come in from Route 10, Morgan Way. The problem I don't foresee that timing the lights will improve anything because I've driven through communities where they are timed, okay? You have lights that are green and no one's at the light and are red and people are lined up.
You have your traffic engineering degree from where?
I can see with my own two eyes, I don't need a degree. Anyway, in our town, when someone comes up on a side road to a red light, okay, on the main road, now the light turns red and they get the green light for just long enough to let the cars go through, and the light on the main road goes green and they get the red light again until cars come up. And that's the most efficient way to get traffic through your community.
That's not a coordinated signal system. I'm not gonna argue all night with you on this now. So,
No, I'm not arguing, I'm just telling you the way it is. How do you coordinate it if you have people on a side road waiting to get out at a red light? No one's coming on the main road right now, but they have a red light. By the time that the main road, okay, goes red, now they get the green. It just messes it up, this coordinating. Because there's no way to coordinate it other than when people randomly come to a light, they need to eventually get a green light. It's funny, yeah.
There are traffic engineers for a reason.
Isn't that
I
why
think
they?
one of the things that I remember from our discussion from your engineer, and put the words in his mouth and correct me, is he talked about there are higher technology solutions that allow the timing of the lights and to adjust the traffic at the time that it's happening. And he did say though that there's an expense with that, and I think that was one of the concerns of the township is okay, if that's the solution, there's that expense. And I don't think we traveled down that road, but I mean there may be other solutions outside of timing that are a little more
and I think
technologically
when that
involved.
question came up, we stated that we can contribute to these improvements. We contribute cash to these improvements.
Sean, I just have one question. When you get to us on the agenda, will we have some time to speak before any actions taken? Or do you want to speak, you want us to talk about it now? I know we're kind of out of sequence on your agenda.
Yeah, we're still in the opening.
Yeah. So it's your call, but.
Yeah, I mean, we could look at the minutes at the end of the meeting and just kind of, have this go into that's the first item on the agenda, so that might make the most sense, which I think everybody's here for, so. I think, did I see another hand, or?
I did, they're all reserved, and I'd like to hear what he has to say.
Any other comments before it starts?
Yeah. I just got one. My name's Jerry Roth. I'm from Parkside over in Elverson, and traffic is one of the biggest reasons I came here. Getting out on 401, making a left-hand turn on the 23 can be. I've actually had back up all the way to the front of the school trying to make a left-hand turn there. You come out on Chestnut, you can't see around the corner. This is just going to make it terrible for our community in Parkside to get out of our community. And that's the biggest thing I wanted to say. Also, I can't believe you guys are going into this without having a formal traffic study done already. They said they brought somebody to the meeting, but where's his report? What did it say? Well, the recommendations is just verbal, going back and forth, non-technical people asking an engineer, just they're going to hit on the right question by accident. It doesn't make sense to me. All this stuff should have been planned out and presented as a package. What's the total impact? I'm also concerned about Twin Valley School District taxes going up. If this 200 and some extra homes, all the children associated with it, is that going to require new schools? What's that going to do to my tax base? New communities, coming from California, new communities have a thing called mellow roots. Those communities, the new ones, pay for their own infrastructure through extra taxes until it's done, and they get those taxes removed, they go to the base like everybody else. I'm a firm believer that new communities should support their own infrastructure, and I don't know what the answer to that is. Has it been looked at? Is there new schools going to be required? Those are the questions I have.
Can I?
She had her.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Hi, I'm Virginia Regger. I'm at 4491 West Main Street. It's listed as Elverson. For 22 years I've lived here. I've paid my taxes to Caernarvon and Berks. And I am certainly opposed to converting to residential. Residential always, in my viewpoint of my many years watching communities, always increases taxes, always puts a burden on septic and sewage, always puts a burden on scholastic achievements because of crowding. In my opinion, we have two valuable pieces of property in our midst that are zoned commercial. If we take one of them out and we add 200 and some homes, that means we're adding 500 vehicles. A family is a two-car family. 500 vehicles in our community. And may I also say, I am always impressed by the way our lights work. But I live across from 401, and I pray every time I hear that noise. And y'all know what I'm talking about. It's a dangerous spot. We need to address things that will make our community safer for our next generation. Our next generation will build what we need to survive. And I also believe that maybe we ought to look at a movie theater. I'm done, thanks.
Can we get some clarification where we are in the process with the Berks Home Airport property? I think people are not understanding where we are in the process. And also for the petition, what question was asked and how was it asked? Because that kind of determines the answer a little bit as well. That concerns me.
Okay, as far as for the petition, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know either. I mean, you could say, do you know that there's houses going to be built? They're going to say, no, that's awful. But I don't know if they know the history. And that would determine people's responses.
We'll look at it and weigh it based on that.
Yeah.
And the other question as far as the process, and what we're discussing here first is, will we change the zoning? That's the first question. But during this discussion, we've had them show us preliminary plans to kind of weigh in on that, just so that they don't go through this whole thing and say, oh, we're not going to approve that. So the plan hasn't been officially approved, but we're not even to that step. We're at the, will we change the zoning to allow that? So, nothing's been done where, they're breaking ground after this, the zoning is considered for, depending which way it goes. So, just to be clear on that, we're structured.
And I believe that this board has asked the questions, what is the impact on the sewer, the water, the traffic, the school? And I in particular asked Gary, as far as the school goes, Gary made mention that there's 500 open seats right now at Twin Valley School District. There's more than that now, so 500 plus. And my question to that is, so if we end up with 150 children out of this, where are these seats located? Are they all in the high school, middle school, elementary? You know what I mean? Because we have to look at, in Honeybrook Township, they're building, which is Twin Valley School District. In Elverson, there's development, so there's going to add children to the school district. You know, so we are asking the questions and looking at the whole picture. I would like to know what it's gonna do to the sewer, the water, the school in total. And I would like to see, and I have been asking questions that outside of Caernarvon Township, because ultimately from Gibraltar, Robinson Township to Honeybrook Township and Borough to Elverson, that affects our school district. So how many developments and how many homes are you putting in, and how many people do you suspect that are gonna be in these homes when they move in? Are they 3-bedroom, 5-bedroom, 1-bedroom? To see the impact on our school district, because ultimately this will weigh heavy on our school taxes if we have to build another school to accommodate more children, not just from this development, but from others. Development is gonna happen, that's growth. But what we need to decide here in our township, is this the best for our township and our tax base? Because like someone said, from 30 years ago until now, it has changed. We have developed, we have evolved into where we are right now. My problem is 30 years from now, I don't want someone to have to deal with my muck that I left behind. So when I ask questions, I'm asking for a reason. I don't want the people behind me to have to live in muck, in the muck that I left them. So you're taking a best guess at some of this of where we're going to be in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. On an educated mathematical equation with a best guess. That's what we're doing.
When this zoning was adopted, it was before New Morgan, okay? We had about 2,100 acres over there that was Caernarvon Township. So we lost all that opportunity for growth, for housing, whatever. Now this IOP is critical to keep this for commercial, because this change in the zoning, you're not allowed to change it just for one development or one developer. You have to change it for the whole district. So that would mean other properties in there that, you know, farm properties that currently are being farmed, they could do the same thing with it in the future, turn it into housing in the future.
Sean, just again, do you want me to go through some of the things that I have, or do you want me to wait?
We'll keep rolling.
Okay. You want me to go through it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Just a little bit of history. You know, you heard from the Bilers, and they tried to sell a few years ago. Somebody wanted to put a large warehouse in. Ordinance 289 was approved. That was a text amendment that took away the large warehouse. And I'm not here to dispute that, whether it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. It's just that they had a substantial buyer that had a plan, and someone, you know, this group or previous group chose to change the text amendment so they couldn't move forward with that.
That's not correct. That plan did not fit the zoning either. It was a distribution warehouse that was already approved for, that zoning is allowed in C3. That property did not meet distribution warehouse.
I'm not going to argue with you. I looked at the IOP previous to today,
yes,
and I looked at what the text amendment was, and it was specific to the warehouse number 19. You signed it. It was dated November 28, 2017.
That was to clarify that no warehouse even that large could go in there. But that warehouse that was proposed would not meet the zoning because it was a distribution warehouse.
Then why have the text amendment? So, and I'm finished with that comment. I just want to move on. So it was our understanding that since that time, the Planning Commission and the supervisors wanted to change the zoning on this property. And, you know, that was what, 2017, 2018, and
to residential? The Planning Commission was talking about possibly allowing a certain amount, a little bit of residential.
You know what, Alan? Can I just talk and you stop interrupting me?
You throw stuff out there,
no,
unsubstantiated, and then you want to, you know, okay.
What I said was, the Planning Commission and the supervisors discussed the possibility, looking into changing the zoning on that property. I didn't say to what or anything. That's a true statement, I believe.
I don't know if the supervisors talked to planning, did they?
I think it was, well.
The planning commission.
Okay, so the planning commission talked about it.
Yes.
Do we agree that that
Yes,
is true?
planning commission
Okay.
talked about it.
So we talked to the Bylers, presented a plan of what we thought was good use of the property. And so we presented a plan. We didn't get a lot of, what we heard was the planning commission, we heard the word mixed use. So what we proposed was a mixed use plan. It had commercial, it had apartments, it had townhomes, and it had single families. Didn't get a whole lot of direction, but someone on the planning commission said, I don't think apartments are gonna fly. So we came back with a revised plan, 20% reduction in units, and now we have townhomes and we have singles, and we still have the commercial that's along Main Street, on Route 23. And again, there's been not a lot of direction, but where I'm going with this is, if you really truly, and I'm not sure that you do or you don't, want to change the zoning, why don't you, and we can't do it, we've already asked, why don't you ask the county planning commission people to come in, the executive director, and let them talk to you about what kind of a zoning change may work on this property, instead of, and I know what the letter says, and I read their comp plan, so there is a little bit of discrepancy in their letter, but it's not our letter. I think he should be the one to explain the letter. I think what I'm trying to say is, maybe it would help to alleviate some of the concerns about what this property is going to be when you kind of look at the bigger picture. You talked about Robinson. The whole strip on 10 is pretty much commercial. That got changed to commercial. And there's been controversy back and forth with that. You mentioned New